the video's already recording.
Yeah.
Audio's recording.
Yeah.
I have no idea what we're talking about today. Do you care that we're going no headphones? I really don't care. We can go headphones if you want.
Two production guys do a podcast with no headphones.
What do we need them for?
Let's fucking rip it.
Hey, cheers.
Brian.
Josh.
Welcome
that was a crack. Did you hear that?
To A Great Depression, a podcast for every mall rat, Jansport, backpack emo kid struggling with the boredoms of everyday adult life. Hit the music that you made.
Cut that out.
We are not in the Union Fitness Studios today, but we are normally in the Union Fitness Studios, which is located on the North Shore of Pittsburgh. Union Fitness, more than traditional gym, Brian. It's a place where you can transform yourself inside and out based around a variety of classes like yoga, fitness, strength, and performance training. At Union Fitness, they believe it is their duty to hold themselves and their clients to a higher standard. They practice what they preach and uphold the values that make Union Fitness the community it is. Go to unionfitness.com today and sign up for a consultation. Through Union, there is strength.
Oh, okay. We should have had it pulled up.
No, you're good. You're
okay.
Good. And Brian, there's no greater strength than two dudes who, with no malice in their heart, no reservation, open up beers that have marshmallow in the ingredients list.
Sure.
And just wholeheartedly hope that it's good.
So let me tell you something real quick. I like Evergreen Brewery quite a bit. I've been there several times.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of their beers. Not a huge fan of fake sour beers.
Mm-hmm.
I hate blackberries,
Yeah.
and I don't like marshmallows.
Well, guess what?
But I'm going to give this a taste, and I'm sure it's going to be totally fine.
It's smooth.
I'm going to let you know how I feel about
It's
this.
really smooth.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's just not for me.
Okay.
You know, it's very similar to how I feel about the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh.
It's not really a hot take because I thought I was making a hot take yesterday on Facebook when I said, I didn't really like it. But it seems like a lot of other people kind of share the same sentiments with me. Did you watch it?
I've not watched that or Godzilla vs. Kong yet. Those are on my to-do list.
Okay, well, we don't got to get into it, and I don't want to put any ideas in your head about how you should feel about it before you see it.
Yeah.
Because it could be something that you will like.
I don't think I will, and only based on this. A couple of weeks ago, the Rank King, who's a character inside of Thoughts from the Bench who ranks things, did top 10 Mortal Kombat characters. And I'd say half the list was from the OG game,
Didn't
and then
you sent me a
and I
text
sent
of
you
it.
that list.
Yeah.
And the rest of them were less than satisfactory. And so I think when it comes to Mortal Kombat in particular, I am a diehard original game, original movie ends.
Sure.
That's all the further I'll go.
Sure. It's so much of it is tied to my nostalgia for it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time in my life where, I don't know, I became a teenager and then eventually an adult, and I just stopped playing video games in general. I don't have a problem with video games, but I just lost sight of it. You know, I started chasing my career and my adult aspirations, right?
Making
So
music.
I'm just completely disconnected from what Mortal Kombat is today. So whenever you see characters and you see these things that are legally in IP, supposedly Mortal Kombat, I'm separated from it. It's not too dissimilar from the time that I played Magic the Gathering for the first time after not playing it for about 15 years, because I played it when I was a kid, and then a buddy of mine invited me out to play Friday Night Magic with him, and it was a booster draft, so we're getting way in the weeds here.
Yeah, no, we're right there with you. The crowd is in. The crowd is in.
Yeah,
our group
so,
is in.
You know, it worked for me because I didn't have any new cards. I still knew how to play, but it's okay, we're all starting from scratch here. So I get my starter deck and my couple booster packs, and I'm opening up and I'm trying to build a deck, I remember how this works.
Mhm.
But there's so many new rules and
Yeah.
weird like
Yeah.
color matchings of
Yes.
cards of things.
Yes.
It's like this is the same game, but it feels different. It's not the Magic that I played.
Well, and it's become so much more about like having the right, like the merfolk, for example, right? Is like this super powerful thing that if you know how to wield that deck and like, you know, you could scatter the field with merfolk, turn it all into water and fuck everybody up.
Sure.
But like, that's not how old Magic was.
Well, I mean, it's not too dissimilar. There was, you know, people that would play like green decks that were heavy on elves, and it would be like, you know, you do that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Or you had like blue decks that were all heavy on like counter spells and heavy
Okay.
on defense.
Okay.
Or like a quick red deck where it's all like, you know,
That was
like
my
lightning
shit.
bolts
Yeah.
and fireballs and all that shit, right?
I am attack 100%. I want to put as many monsters on the field as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I want them to come back when you kill them, and I just want an all-out offense.
So my deck that I always played was black
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, I'm the spooky boy.
Yeah, you are.
But I was really into I had a buried alive deck where you would basically
Mhm.
it would make all of your creatures constantly regenerate.
right.
Buried alive was a card. I don't remember what expansion it was in. I want to say maybe it was Ice Age, but I could
Okay.
be wrong. We're digging way
No,
deep
we're
into
good.
like
We're good.
the backgrounds of my brain. But all things being said there, it was just things change and evolve, and you know, I totally get where pop culture is now. You know, the one thing I will say about the Mortal Kombat movie is it feels a lot like a Marvel movie, but like,
Fun.
but not fun, like
Oh.
miserable Marvel, which I guess is
Oh.
DC. So maybe it feels more like a DC movie.
So it's the Snyder cut of Mortal
It's
Kombat.
very yeah. I know Zack Snyder. From my understanding, I haven't seen a whole lot of his films since Sucker Punch. He did Sucker
Yes.
Punch, right? That's a very miserable movie.
Yeah.
So
Has the chick from Glee in it.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like miserable in the sense of like there's no so there's a thing with like watching movies like Mortal Kombat or action movies in general where it's like, you know, the hero's journey, and sure there's some dark stuff that happens, but you know, there's light moments and like you can
Yeah.
relate with all the characters, and like you can part of you is like, oh, maybe I kind of understand where the villain's coming from, and I understand where
Yeah.
you have
Black
empathy
Panther
for everybody.
particularly, Yeah.
You know, but in a lot of those movies, it's just everything is miserable. It's like
Mhm.
it's like everybody's like fighting for humanity, but they portray humanity in a way where it doesn't seem like it's even worth fighting for.
Yes. Nailed it.
It's-
That's Marvel.
It's so but that's kind of how I feel about the new Mortal Kombat movie. It's
Okay.
just it just feels miserable. It's fun. There's a lot of fun bloody stuff if you're into
Oh.
that, you know.
Which is where the games have gotten to. I mean, not
Yeah,
that it
it's
wasn't
just like-
always a part of the games, but like the fatality
Yeah, it's
kills
just
now
like
are insane.
hella aggro,
Yeah.
super masculine,
Mhm.
which is like that's fine. I don't mind those things, but it's like have a little bit of like fun with this.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like
Yeah.
and there's ways to have fun outside of having your characters just drop the F-bomb every other word.
Right.
The dialogue in the movie is so it's just so lazy.
Mm.
Like there's moments where like I laughed at it because I was like, okay, like that was silly. I chuckled, but it's still like lazy.
Okay. But
But watch it. I need to shut up.
I'll watch it. and
I've
let you
been
know.
wanting to really vent about this,
Oh,
so I'm trying hard not to right
the
now.
show's called A Great Depression, so that is all we do is bitch and moan.
Sure,
So,
I don't
like,
want to bitch and
let it
moan
out.
about something that you haven't seen though.
Oh, understandable.
So we could,
Understandable.
because then, you know, for all we know, this could end up being Josh's favorite movie of all time.
Well,
I doubt it, but I just don't want to rob you of this potential, like bliss that you could live in this cinematic heaven that is the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie.
that and Kong versus Godzilla. I think there's definitely in my so like I famously hate The Social Network.
Okay, I've never watched it.
It's okay.
I feel like that movie came out too soon.
Well, it did. but then
Like I don't need to know
yeah,
about this
like,
now.
Zuckerberg was not a villain yet when that movie came out. So like that kind of is the context of it.
Mm.
But I think when The Social Network had been like propped up to me as the greatest movie of the decade, the 2010s. It was the greatest movie of the 2010s. And I went, no way. Sure enough, was not. When you have something like Endgame inside of the 2010s, I don't care if you made a cinematic masterpiece like Get Out inside of the 2010s. That is the coolest fucking movie, Endgame, that you can get your hands on. So, like, if you prop a movie up to me, I'm more likely to hate it. But if you, like, undersell a movie or even shit on it a little bit, I'll be like, no, I'm going to find something I like about this. Like, I'm going to like it in spite of you.
Sure.
Kind of is how I watch movies a lot of the time.
Sure. I think that seems like maybe something to work on. Josh,
we talk about that in therapy. Hey, I seem to like things that people hate. People just used to be calling that being a hipster, but
yeah, no, I think there is something to that though. But it really depends on like where it's coming from, and I think for me personally, it comes from because to make it clear, I relate with you 100%. But for me, I think if you scratch beneath the surface, it really just comes from my lack of trust in people and my lack of interest in people in general throughout my life.
Yeah.
Like I've always been the weirdo. Like in 7th grade, I remember like kids would throw shit at me for wearing weird t-shirts, but they were like corn t-shirts and stuff, right?
So it's really not
so like
that weird.
And then but the thing that was fucked up about that was by the middle of 8th grade, they put out Follow the Leader and Got the Life was on TRL, and now everybody liked corn. That was the first time in my life that I experienced that, where like I had this thing that was like, it felt like it was mine.
Yeah.
And it was so, I didn't care that other people were into it. Actually, I thought that was really cool that people were into it. But it was like, wait a second. Like last year, everybody was giving me shit for like, not wearing a Tommy Hilfiger shirt and wearing a corn shirt.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
what the fuck?
Everybody's like, at least knows what I'm talking about, and it has like validation.
Right. So have you heard the Astronaut in the Ocean song? It's everywhere right now. Feel like an astronaut in the ocean. Hey, that's cool, yo.
Listen, Josh, why would I have been anywhere that plays music in the past year?
Well, because it's like all over Instagram and TikTok and everything.
Yeah, see, I'm very good at like
hiding from them.
I post things and then I like kind of skitter away.
Okay. So where I was going with this.
But no, I haven't heard the song, sorry. I just kind of made myself sound like a total chud.
Recluse.
Yeah.
A recluse.
I'm not.
A recluse.
I'm not. I'm just really bad at paying attention to things. I'm not familiar with this song. I'm too busy watching Mortal Kombat.
So anyway, I'm too busy bitching about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It's the wrong shade of blue on Sub-Zero's uniform.
It's barely blue. It's like gray.
Not even blue.
It's blue, but like.
All right, now I'm out.
Whatever.
Now
I mean,
I hate it as well.
Listen, Sub-Zero is probably the only good thing about the movie. One of the only good things. No, there's plenty. We got to get out of this.
Okay,
Tell me about this
anyway,
fucking bullshit song.
Astronaut in the Ocean is like this, like kind of nobody's ever heard of rapper, and he released this single that is like total departure from what he used to do, and it got put into either like Dave, the Little Dicky Show, or one of the shows Anastasia was watching, and I was like walking through the living room, I was like, that song's awesome. And I like Googled it. I'm like, okay, this is my new song.
Okay.
And I was showing it to everybody like 4 months ago.
And
now the guy who plays Archie on Riverdale is like covering it on TikTok.
Oh,
and I'm like ready to put a bullet in my brain because now my song isn't cool anymore.
It's still cool.
No, it's not. No, it's not. The second Archie from Riverdale is like lip syncing it on TikTok and dancing around shirtless, it is no longer
What's
cool.
the issue with Archie in Riverdale?
So there's nothing wrong with Archie in Riverdale. Let me be very clear. That is the best trash show on the TV.
I agree with you.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But KJ Appa is like very much like a hot young like teen Luke Perry-esque actor right now. And so like that means that like 13-year-old kids are now listening to the Astronaut in the Ocean song. And I'm like, ugh.
Well, do you want to be the type of like old curmudgeon that like complains about young kids listening to good music? Because you liked that song, right? Because it was a
Yes,
good song.
but I liked it before everybody, Brian.
But do you want to live in a world where like the pop culture and like the music that's driving the youth is trash, or at least have some substance?
Oh no, definitely.
So I'm assuming if you like this track, it had some sort of substance to you.
Oh, it does. It's a banger. And then like even like the new Machine Gun Kelly stuff, which like you and I are like, okay, it's Blink-182. Literally, it's Travis Barker producing and writing most of it.
Yeah.
But that just means a new generation is finding Blink-182. And the more times some kid hears "Damn It" and it changes their life, I'm here for it.
Sure.
So yeah, no, I align with that idea that I want the youth of the nation.
But it's still your thing.
But it still was my thing, damn it.
Sure.
I like having the one thing that nobody knows about. Very similar to Anastasia was listening to that Hozier debut album when they were demo tracks. Like what's the song about they'll name their kids na 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 na. What the fuck is that song?
I have no idea.
You remember Hozier though?
Yeah, I do remember.
So
that's the Take Me to Church guy, right?
That's the Take Me to Church guy. But he had such a sick like first debut album. But Anastasia was listening to it a year before Take Me to Church went on the radio. And like I remember Take Me to Church like getting played. I'm like, this isn't even the best song on this album. Like
yeah, fair enough. I had a similar thing to that with Billie Eilish.
Yeah,
because everybody was like,
early.
Like, where did Billie Eilish come from? I'm like, I've known about her for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And it's like one of these things where like, oh, this young person comes out of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, her and her brother have been making music. It's like, okay, sure. Maybe she's 17 now.
Right.
Her and her brother have been recording songs in a bedroom since she was like 10.
Which is crazy.
She has 7 years of work. This isn't out of nowhere.
No, yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. No, so yeah, like part of me wants the zeitgeist and particularly the younger zeitgeist to embrace and kind of have the piss off attitude that we had at that age, because I think it's really important. And like a thing that really pisses me off is like
tell them.
So do you remember well, maybe you don't because you
tell
avoid everything. So there was a TikTok that came out like a month or two ago, and the fact that I'm even referencing TikTok as a news source kills me. But where one of the Gen Z, the Zoomers or whatever they are, said your middle part and skinny jeans aren't cool anymore, or your side part and your skinny jeans aren't cool anymore to millennials.
Okay.
And all the millennials had a fucking fit about it. They're like, who are this young generation, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, guys, we're 30. And like, do you remember when people did this to us and we got real mad about it?
Yeah.
So like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Stop being fucksticks.
Sure. I the most valuable thing that, well, maybe not the most, but one of the most valuable things that any functioning person living in a society can learn to do.
This is going to be epic.
Is just be self-aware.
Yeah. Yes. That wasn't that epic at all.
No, it's not.
That's just clean advice.
Maybe it's common sense, but like
it's clearly not.
No,
if it was, we would be in a completely different scenario.
So, yeah, but it's very, very easy for a lot of people to be very quick to react, you know, speaking before thinking, that sort of thing. You know, one may say it's the whole reason why we've gotten into so many of the problems that we have over the course of our existence on this planet. There's a lot of doing before considering. I
can never remember the comedian, but one of the comedians has a joke. It's like, imagine if like George Washington came back to life today. And he's like pumped. He's like, I can't wait to see what you guys did with the place. And they're like, yeah, George, we're still using the same fucking rules you wrote down all that long time ago. George Washington would have a conniption fit.
Sure.
He'd be like, those were just like ideas. This was not like to build an entire country and never change it.
George Washington would come back and he would say, "Your side part and skinny jeans are not cutting it."
Where's all the wigs at? When do we get back into the wig phase? We watched Pirates for Thoughts from the Movies this past week.
Okay.
And like anytime you see an actor in like a Victorian wig, you're always like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Like people had fake hair that they just ran around with all the time.
Yeah. I wonder though, I have this thing where I think about like punk in the late 70s and like hair metal in the 80s, right? Like we're kind of like told this story about how like everything looked like that based off of a few photographs. But I feel like if we had, or if they had the access to documenting life that we do now, I think a lot of us would see, I guarantee you it wasn't as crazy as it seems. And where I'm going with this is I guarantee you not everybody looked like that.
Not everybody wore a powdered wig.
Not everybody wore a powdered wig, much like not everybody in the 80s had teased fucking hair and everybody that was in the punk scene had mohawks. I mean, a lot of people did.
Yeah.
But that most of the people, I'm sure, were just like normal people.
Yeah.
And it's like so easy to romanticize these ideas of things being different, or in the case of like hair metal or punk, things being better back then.
Right.
I think everything has always been kind of boring with exciting blips.
I mean,
here
we
and
do
there.
that now with emo shit.
Sure.
Like, no, we weren't all fucking swooped out and nails painted like on a Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, if we were going to the fucking
nails painted, that dude, you're not a rapper, but now you are.
Yeah.
That's a song.
There it is. You know, if we're going to
Hair
the
swoop, nails painted on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Going out
actually, well, I guess
to the VFW on a Tuesday.
Well, actually, I guess if we were like leaning into the emo, it'd have to be more of like a nails painted hand on a Tuesday.
Well, now they're the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that happened. That's the other thing too, which
That's
is
kind of awesome.
It's really cool. It's exciting to see music growing. It's exciting to see less I don't know how I want to word this, but like
gatekeeping?
Less, I guess not necessarily gatekeeping, but like less use of the word gay. Like things being gay.
Yeah.
Because you remember it was like, oh, skinny jeans are gay. That's gay. Like everything is like so ambiguously the same now. And it's interesting. And I wonder how much of that has come as a result of just like different lifestyles in general becoming more accepting, and it just like everything becoming this melting pot. Because when I was, you know, in the late 2000s, when I was doing my screamy rap stuff on top of an iPod in skinny jeans with my swoopy hair, everybody thought I was a maniac. And it's like, I was just 13 years too soon.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like 13 years too soon on everything. Like so last week I introduced you on the podcast and I said that you were doing content before Vine and TikTok even existed. Like you were doing internet content before I even knew what internet content was or could comprehend what it was. And so like you're ahead of the trend on a lot of things, dude. A lot.
Cool.
You're like, great.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
No, it's cool, man. I think that I appreciate the observation. And I think it's cool. I think that I've always been obnoxiously just curious about things and putting my opinions out there. Only child. Never really had any great friends in school. So whenever the internet finally came to be a thing, it was very much like let me find some people to talk to.
Yeah. Which is awesome. And the idea of Twitch and YouTube becoming like these platforms where these, you know, like there's a girl who has like a tumor on her face. And so the left side of her face is completely normal and the right side of her face is bulbous. Okay. And she does makeup tutorials. When we were kids, that person would have never done anything like that.
Sure.
Now that person has 7 million viewers and like has an entire platform for her to like just say, hey, it's okay to look weird and be different. Like, it's so cool. And I wish that would have existed when we were kids, because I think there's a lot of people like, not like me, but like the people I'm friends with who I think would have benefited from that.
Yeah.
Heavily.
No, I agree. It's a really interesting time to think about what it would be like to be in high school now versus what it was like when we were in high school.
Can you imagine bullying follows you, not just home, but it follows you into your bedroom on this fucking device?
Sure.
Like, you can't get away from your bully anymore.
Yeah.
You can't go home and cry about it and like just be with your friends or whatever. Like,
yeah, that's like the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like simultaneously, I guess that's the internet in general. It's a tool that can like make you feel so connected to everything, but can also just as easily make you feel completely isolated.
Right.
Or give you that whole like FOMO thing where like, if you're just looking on Instagram and you're seeing like, oh, fucking, you know, Sam's at fucking, you know, Olive Garden, and fucking Sarah's at fucking Disney World, and
Sam and Sarah, the limited hub,
yeah,
Olive Garden Disney World combo.
Yeah, and I'm just fucking sitting on the couch watching this bullshit Mortal Kombat movie with Cool Ranch Doritos all over me.
Yeah.
Is it okay that I'm swearing?
Great. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. I keep catching myself, and you haven't said anything. I just wanted to make sure it was okay.
So Zach, who's no longer a part of the show, this is actually the first show without Zach. So, you know, congrats on being a part of the first Great Depression post Zach era. You were picked for that on purpose, by the way, because I knew I could just sit down and you and I would have an entire conversation, and the audience would be like, "Oh yeah, this is the same."
Cool.
I fooled them.
Cool.
But Zach and Justin Boyd have been known to say some really, 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 really aggressive things. Did you know that Mongoloid is a slur?
I've heard that it is a slur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago on one of our shows, Zach called somebody a Mongoloid, and I was like, you can't say that. And he's like, why? So then literally we had to go through the progression of how it became a slur, like on air.
Sure.
So like, yeah, no. Couple of fucks and gays here and there is like, that's child's play to what this audience is used to.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's really interesting because I understand that the word mongoloid is a slur.
Yeah.
And it's not a part of my vocabulary.
Right.
But I also don't it's like I don't know if I care.
Because you don't know any Mongolians?
I guess that's it.
It could be.
So maybe I just need to, but like, do they care?
I would assume so.
I have no idea.
Because Mongolians are kind of like the bastardized race of the Eastern countries.
That's true. I know nothing about it. So that's just me being, you know how like an idiot.
Germany must have felt after World War II.
Sure.
That's how Mongolia has felt like since Genghis Khan died.
Sure.
Like literally they just like got their shit shoved back into them and got told to go hang out in the snow.
So does Mongoloid come from that?
Yeah, so like Mongolians have a very distinct like build and look about them, and they were not necessarily known for being hyper intelligent. They were one of the last hunter-gatherer civilizations left in the world for a long time. So like that's kind of where that term is like, it's meant to mean dumb.
Yeah, I get it. I empathize with it. Again, not
because you are Mongolian.
It's not part of my vocabulary.
Right.
I think that where people get hung up on things is like, because like there are some words that change over the course of time, like, where like people like that word, we'll call it the M word. We won't use it anymore.
Okay.
So the M word, right? It's evolved over time into a thing where it's like kind of a silly word. It's almost people use it in a way that they use the R word, right?
Yes.
But the R word still is a thing.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like the R word never really evolved.
No.
It's in a lot of ways, but like it's kind of very similar to like the G word. I said it a little bit ago, but when people refer to like, oh, you're being
So that's
G,
not
right?
the word that I think of though from that culture. So the gay culture, and we're allowed to use it that way.
Yeah,
Is the F word, is faggot.
sure.
They have reclaimed that word entirely, that population. So much so now that they use it to refer to each other.
Can I make a really bad joke?
Absolutely.
If they reclaimed it, should it be fagga?
Fantastic question. Fantastic question. I would assume so.
Okay.
But
I do not want to be socially canceled
No,
for that.
no.
I am just making a yuck.
But
That's all.
my coworker, who is gay, all the time calls me. He's like, "Man, you're such a fag."
Sure.
And I'm like, "That's incredible! Like a gay man just called me a fag. This is like, it's like, it's so like jarring because like as a jock in high school, I definitely use that word to make fun of people. So like to have it totally flipped on me 180 is like the most wild. Like it's not quite like seeing somebody walk on the moon, but I'm sure it's not too dissimilar in a lot of ways as far as like the neurons it fires off in your brain. Like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear things like that. I've heard and been around that similar situations as well. But I think going back to my original point, it's just like Americans' knowledge of Asian culture is so
Anime-based.
limited to begin with. So it's no wonder that like, and yeah, you're 1000% correct. So it's, I get it, but again, I
didn't know the word was even offensive.
I knew
largely.
I when you asked me, I was like, yeah, I know that it is now, but it's just, you know, if you asked me that when I was fucking 18,
Right.
I would have been like, no.
Let me ask you another thing that is probably very offensive to you.
Okay.
Which Ninja Turtle is a whiny ass bitch who just needs to shut up because he's way overrated?
Leonardo.
And how is it not Raphael?
What? Really?
Yes, absolutely. Raphael sucks.
Okay, in what universe are we talking, Raphael?
So that's kind of the hard part, right? Because I was just the name of the episode is Cowabunga. Because that was my game plan, was to at some point talk about turtles with you, because there's only a few people I can genuinely deep dive on turtles with.
Okay.
I think original universe, black and white, red, they all wore the red bandana because Raph was missing. That Raphael is cooler than the zeitgeist version of Raphael.
So I've found myself over time, obviously, I mean, I say obviously, but people don't know me that are listening to this show. When I was a child, it was all Mikey. I think that's a pretty common answer. As I've gotten older, I've definitely grown more of an appreciation for Raphael.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately Donatello is the best turtle.
Duh. Hands down.
He holds everything up.
Yep.
And I am team fuck Leonardo. I have never liked Leonardo.
No, yeah. He's annoying.
Yeah.
He's annoying. And I'm trying to even think of times where I've felt that Leonardo was redeemable. And like the only time is like when he's laying in the bathtub with Raph.
Well, the issue, the thing is, if Raphael wasn't in the picture, or no, I'm sorry, if Leonardo wasn't in the picture, Raphael wouldn't be such a brat.
True. He would be the leader.
That's the thing. It's like Raphael's issue is that Leonardo is so caught up with himself that he can't acknowledge or have empathy for a brother that's crying out for it, and I empathize with it.
You know what? You are changing my answer. Like you're slowly spinning the Titanic, but I hate that 90% of the people in the world answer that question that Raphael is their favorite Ninja Turtle.
Sure. Well, it's because he's honestly the most human. If you think about like how we feel and the things that we go through, a lot of people, especially people
emo.
Well, especially any motherfucker that's gonna turn to a cartoon for like parental or life guidance.
This is a great point. This is a great point.
You know what I mean?
I was not prepared for that.
Like that.
Shit.
What do you? That's probably the kind of person they are. They have those feelings in them.
I think I think you are so down a path here that it's like not even fun to make fun of it anymore. I think you've absolutely nailed that. that is exactly why everybody loves Raph, is because those of us who maybe turn to a cartoon for solace or comfort associated with him quite a bit.
Totally. And I think that's maybe also why I hate Leonardo. Because like
Right.
part of Leonardo
Perfect.
is like he's like the person that like I feel society wants me to be, but I can't understand how to be that person.
Right.
And it's really easy to gravitate towards Mikey as the favorite because he's like the
Just the glue
life
guy.
isn't real, bro.
He's a glue guy.
Yeah.
He's a glue guy.
Yeah.
He's a glue guy. I think, though, I've always leaned towards Donatello because I like the idea that you can be intelligent and physically gifted.
Sure.
I think there's a couple of my friends who are exactly like that, where they're incredibly smart, but then they're also like yoked up, ripped out like guys.
Well, yeah, and I think too, it's like as I got older and became a creator and becoming like understanding how things work.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not too dissimilar from like, oh, like getting into music. I stopped caring so much about the bands, but who's producing the records.
Yeah.
Not so much about like who's in this movie, but who made the movie,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like Donatello is the Quentin Tarantino of the Turtles. That whole universe would not exist without his inventions or anything that he does to keep it afloat, right? So
Does
like,
he also love feet? Does he like have pictures of April O'Neil's feet in like a little binder underneath his bed?
side note, original April when I met her, autograph on the wall.
How much, and I don't know, are you a Transformers guy?
No.
Not really. When Megan Fox got booted from the Transformers franchise,
Okay.
I was pissed.
Sure.
Because she was an awesome, like, you know, sidekick chick in the franchise. She was perfect. And then when Michael Bay went, yo, you're still the shit. I had to fire you because of Steve. And like now you're April O'Neil. That was like weird, like childhood dream things coming true. Because like when I was 18, she was like driving Bumblebee. And I was like, I can't handle this as an 18-year-old full of hormones, this hot chick driving my favorite Transformer. Like, I don't know how to deal with this. And then like,
cool.
Even more, Michael Bay's like, oh yeah? What if I made her April O'Neil? I'm like, you sick bastard. I'll watch it.
Sure. You know what? Until you brought it up, I completely forgot that Megan Fox was in those movies. And I liked both those movies.
They were great. They were turtles at their core.
Yeah.
Mikey was funny. Raph was running off, doing dumb shit. Donatello's just trying to keep it all together, inventing shit, and Leonardo's being a bitch.
So the one thing that really helped me about that, I think that I would have been fine regardless, because I have a very, I don't know how to put this. I try to bring this up a lot, and when I do, a lot of people seem to look at me like they don't understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I don't know if I've ever been able to articulate it
All
properly.
Right, here we go.
I love pop culture.
Yeah.
I love the Ninja Turtles. I have them tattooed on me. I love dumb movies. I have Big Trouble in China little tattoos. Like, you know, these are things that I love so much. I've decided to like, you know,
Right.
they're a big part of me.
Right.
But I don't invest my personal feelings into pop culture in a way where like I let something like a new movie really affect me. You know, like even with the way that I was talking about the Mortal Kombat movie.
You're a fucking liar, Brian. How?
Yeah. No.
Because you just was talking about Mortal Kombat.
But the thing is, like, I can talk about why I don't like it, but not once was I like, fuck that movie, don't see it, it's trash.
No, that's true. You were like, tell me what you think.
Yeah. I could be very objective about things.
Okay.
And the point that I'm getting at was going into this new Turtles movie, I had like not high expectations of it, but I didn't have low expectations. I was just like, I'm going to go see this. But when I was waiting in line to get my ticket, there was a mom and her son standing in front of me, and the kid had like a Turtles backpack on and the bandana, and he was so fired up, and it like was a really quick and easy like reality check. Like, oh yeah, this movie's for him,
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't, it's like, nobody cares about your 30-year-old feelings, right? Like
right.
it's really similar to like the the side part skinny jeans thing. Like, it
Yes.
doesn't matter like what I thought was cool.
Right.
This isn't for me.
Yeah.
Just go enjoy it. And when I was in the theater, you could hear like the kids. It was opening weekend, so it was full.
Yeah, I think I went open.
There was,
too.
you know, kids laughing. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, and I was like, okay, yeah, like this isn't the '90s Turtles,
No.
but it's not the '90s anymore. And this is literally the equivalent. It's still like making reference to what is popular now.
Yeah.
The characters have the slang and dialect of what kids that age say now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't expect it to be all cowabunga, tubular, and shit. Like that's not what kids
it's
do
not
now.
the 90s anymore.
So,
but skateboards and pizza never go out of style.
oh, skateboard and pizza, no, never.
So
never.
as long as the
But yeah.
Turtles still have skateboard and pizza, they're still the Turtles.
Yeah, I just think that there's a way to like love these things, but like not like invest so much of yourself personally into it that you allow like yourself to actually get in a bad mood or get into an argument with another adult
Yeah.
over something like in
Yeah.
a serious way. If you want to like have a playful mutual
Yeah.
discussion where
Yeah.
you break down things and we can argue about who's the best turtle and things like that, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely some corners of the internet and other places where it gets to a point where it's like, bro, what? Like, let's take a step back. This is getting way too serious, especially in like the Star Wars
I
community.
was just gonna head there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what the best Star Wars trilogy is?
Well, you tell me.
Okay. It's Sith, Rogue One, A New Hope. It's the most compacted version of any of the storylines, and it's the evolution of the bad guy Darth Vader, who's the best character in Star Wars objectively.
Okay. So let me think about that real quick. I'm not going to disagree with you. I enjoyed Revenge of the Sith. Like, I thought it was I didn't like it, but I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it 3 times opening day.
That's... And he just thought it was good. It was fine.
Well,
It's
I mean,
passable.
we bought the tickets in advance, me and all my
Okay.
dork friends.
Okay.
So we watched it and watched it and watched it, and I liked it, but I don't think I've watched it since.
Sure.
And I don't own that movie.
Yeah.
Rogue One, I liked it when I saw it.
Uh-huh.
I called it the Mad Mex. Not Mad Max, Mad Mex. Literally
Mad
the
Mex.
restaurant.
Yes.
Like, this isn't really Mexican food, but it's decent and I enjoyed it, and I'll come back to this.
It's a Star Wars heist movie.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of Star Wars, but not really, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So it was like the same enjoyment that I get out of eating a burrito at Mad Mex. Totally fine.
Yes.
And the old school Star Wars stuff, I mean, I like the original one, and yeah, cool. Fine. I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
But like I don't also care. But I also have a shelf full of Star Wars toys over there. Like, I
Right.
like Star Wars. I like
Right.
old Star Wars, but I'm not going to be all like, oh, you know, fuck the new movies, or fuck
Right,
this, or fuck
right.
that, or like, you know, they should have never abandoned the fucking EU. Why isn't it canon anymore? I'm like, why do you care?
Yeah.
Did fucking stormtroopers come into your house and take all your EU books off your shelf?
I think they did, actually.
Oh, did that happen?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Feige approved it with the Marvel budget, because they weren't quite sure yet, but yeah, it was a whole thing. Every comic book character showed up and took away Secret Wars from you, and then all the EU books from your Star Wars shelf. Yeah.
Okay.
It all got taken away.
I wasn't aware because I don't.
And then Mickey slapped you with his
I
big
wasn't
dick.
aware because I don't own any of that stuff, because I'm not a fucking loser.
Wow.
I'm joking. Big joke. Big joke. I literally have a shelf of Star Wars toys over there.
It's what's this puppet thing? That yellow puppet thing.
Should we get the Logitech fired up real quick?
No, you don't have to.
I got it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So if you can actually move that microphone real quick.
This one?
Yeah. No, I think it's the other one that's blocking.
This one? Oh, I'm moving it the wrong way. If I go up like that.
Maybe I'll just go grab it real quick.
No, look, I can point to it. That thing.
You're talking about this, right?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't remember. That's why I'm grabbing it.
Nice.
Okay. So I could tell you.
Weird, cool childhood toy? Like, what is that?
So this is actually the third guest on today's podcast.
Nice. Welcome to a Great Depression, little news ear guy.
So this is Loretta.
Ah.
Loretta is a hand puppet.
Oh no, this is just a bottle of
That-
alcohol.
That's an old bottle of Stone Zocafesa. But so this is a hand puppet that camera switch. There we go. So my friend Toddy Tondera used to run a podcast called Thrifty.
Yes.
I'm not sure if he's still doing it. I think that he went on a hiatus at least from COVID because his whole show was meeting up with strangers and going to thrift stores and thrifting. And
my friend Ryan Thompson was on that show.
It wasn't a very COVID friendly show.
Yeah.
So shout outs to Toddy, but I got this when I was on Thrifty. I found this in a Goodwill with Toddy, and I decided to keep it because it was pretty ridiculous. So one of the things that Toddy does on his show is whenever you talk about the things that you're thrifting, he'll like look it up on eBay and see how much it's worth and things like that. And these were selling for like $30 on eBay. So
this random puppet thing.
Yeah, so it was made by Russ, which is like an old Russ and Berry, old toy manufacturer company. And I guess so because of that, it has some sort of collectability to it. It wasn't like I know it looks kind of like a homemade project sort of thing.
Homemade.
Yeah, but no, this was actually something that was manufactured and sold.
And you could sell it for 30 whole doll hairs.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But no, yeah. So your toy shelf, action figure shelf, your collector shelf, puts most to shame. And this is, I believe most of this is in boxes still or not on display somewhere. Or have you really cut back?
Hold on one second.
Oh my God.
So
what are those?
So I had to pull this up real quick.
Yeah, so Brian has.
So you can see right here,
Googled.
if anybody is listening to this right now, this is
a visual bit.
This is part of the reason why you should be watching the show. But so as you can see here, the first photo, this is a vintage Russ Loretta doll, but apparently there was a whole line of these. You could see there was like a mouse and
they look like knockoff Mr. Rogers puppets.
Yeah. So obviously we're getting into territory.
What's the green one?
This one?
No, up.
Up.
Right
oh,
there.
yeah, that is.
This guy's awesome.
So
like fucked up cookie monster.
Burp. Its name is Burp.
Oh.
Fuck. I want Burp so bad.
Where do we find a Burp?
Oh, yeah, look at this one.
Look at this guy's fucking Mr. Towel.
Oh, this one says Burp too. So maybe the name isn't. I'm not too sure.
Or
maybe there was a line of Burps because, but honestly, both of these look like they could be named Burp.
These are fucking sick.
Yeah, if we could be completely honest.
I want Burp. A Burp. Because
so
those are
1977 Burp. So this is only $20. Oh, it's sold.
Oh, look at this demented duck one.
Yeah,
these are incredible.
Are wild.
Oh, I'm getting one for the studio.
Oh yeah.
Oh, these are awesome.
So yeah, that you asked and you got your answer. That is
oh my God.
That's what
those are so cool.
So let's keep Loretta hanging out.
That's awesome.
So to not let our main point get too distracted.
Yes.
Talking about Star Wars and me just not caring about the EU. I think that really just stems more from me not being much of a reader when I was young. But I think that from what I've heard from people that have told me about stories that happened in that stuff, like, yeah, I think that's great. I think it would have been cool if they would have went with that, but they didn't.
Well,
get over it. You still have the books.
And most of it's playing out in Mandalorian now anyway.
Yeah,
so
and you
really
don't,
matter.
yeah, it's just like, don't let like what happens in a franchise, a business, like a business franchise, a business franchise, like dictate your happiness.
I agree. Speaking of your happiness, I would be remiss if I had you on this show and we did not talk about emo music for a little bit.
Okay.
Because you and I met, and the first thing I vividly remember, you're like, for some reason we brought up Paramore, and we were both like, yeah, Paramore slaps.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, it was right before Paramore, I think, got the seal of approval from the aging emo crowd that they were cool. Because for a long time, it was the girl band, and that's not necessarily cool to have the girl band. So give me, off the top of your head, your top 3 underappreciated emo bands.
Wow, that's quite a question.
I know. And we can work through it. That doesn't, I don't need a list.
Well, I guess it's really hard right now for me to think like underappreciated because so many of them are appreciated now.
Yes,
But
true.
I would say the first band that comes to mind immediately is Cartel.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Chroma is a fucking phenomenal album. And at least as far back as like 2013 or 14, they were still putting out music and touring.
Yeah.
And they still sound like Cartel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I've kind of stepped away from listening to new music that sounds like that. And if I am listening to Chroma, it's purely nostalgic. But I still recognize that they're phenomenal songwriters for that style of music. And I think that they should have been way fucking bigger than they were. They just weren't cute. That was the problem.
Yes, which was a big problem for emo bands.
Yeah, if you weren't cute, it wasn't going to work. Although, arguably, My Chem,
not
ugliest band ever.
Not
Everybody
cute
in
at
that
all.
band is wretched. Gerard Way just happens to look good in eye makeup. You take the eye makeup off him, and you
Yes.
got a mess.
Yes.
He almost looks like that duck puppet we were just looking at.
It's still up behind you. So
That's
like,
true. That's
for reference, I'm like, not too
yeah.
far.
That's Gerard.
Not too far.
That's Gerard Way right there.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Where are we
Duck
at?
puppet. Yeah.
That's actually mean. He's a very
All
he's a very
just like the puppet. You stuck your hand up again.
that's hella rude to me.
I love this.
I'm just making the yucks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Gerard Way. I know that you're a huge
fan of this
huge
podcast.
fan of this podcast.
Well, you know, if he Googles great and depression,
Oh yeah.
chance he finds it.
Nothing else better to do, just sitting around lounging off your Umbrella Academy
Yes.
paychecks.
Oh my God. That's so wild to me. I don't want to get off topic. It's wild to me that Umbrella Academy is its own thing now.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, well, where's Coheed and Cambria?
Who knows?
Because that was a better comic book series.
Sure.
Anyway.
Sure.
What else?
So Cartel, Copeland.
I love Copeland. Absolutely.
You Are My Sunshine is a very, very beautiful album. Great musically. It's very, very sad, very dark, very, 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 it's a very pretty record.
Is Copeland the disaster song? My heart's beating faster. Na, 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 na,
If it is, it's from an album that I'm not incredibly familiar with.
Back to where we lasted, just like I imagined. What is that fucking song? Emo Night Songs. Here we go. Oh, nope, that's Sugar Cult's Memory.
Okay.
That's where.
Sorry.
Similar names in my brain for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But-
So let's go Copeland.
Yeah.
Let's go Cartel.
Okay.
Now I'm just thinking of bands that begin with C. Man, part of me wants to say Circa Survive, but like they were very, very big. I just feel like I don't know if they got the credit that they were due because they're a very musical band and like very technical.
Oh.
And I feel that they should have gotten popular in a different demographic than they did.
And they almost got popular late. They
Sure.
missed the boat largely.
Sure, those first, I mean, all the Circa Survive stuff is great, but they're just one of those bands that had a very interesting fan base as far as I'm concerned because I think that they got lumped into everything because of Anthony Green and because of Seosin.
Yeah.
And but Circus Survive was way more like
They were better than
way
Circus
more
Survive.
musical and progressive, and a very, very interesting band that was super popular in that community. But like, it would have been really cool to see them, like, I don't know. But I mean, they did really, really well for themselves. So it's hard for me to say like that they didn't do good. I don't know. It's a strange thought that I'm having right now.
How do you feel about the idea that Circus Survive and largely like Dance Gavin Dance and maybe even Glassjaw a little bit were that bridge from like when emo's starting to like take a skid, right? Where it's like becoming really poppy and it's not as punk and metal anymore. And then they're the bridge to our indie rock phase that we all fell into after that.
Sure. I think that Circus Survive probably did play a part in that. I could see not so much Glassjaw, but who's the other band? Definitely not Dance Gavin Dance.
No.
I think Dance Gavin Dance got way more. They're another band that's like, Dance Gavin Dance is a band that is way better than a lot of people, I think, realize. Because again, they got lumped into all of the like MySpace band type things.
Yes.
And there was a lot of great bands that came out of that era. But again, Dance Gavin Dance is incredibly musical, very technical players. But like, it's strange because they're very technical players performing immature music.
Yeah, lyrically that has it's nonsensical.
But they still do pretty cool stuff, and they still put out music, and I check in with what they're doing, and I'm like, I don't hate this, but not too dissimilar from Cartel. It's like, I just don't want to listen to this anymore. This just isn't what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that like they're still putting out music, and I'm glad that they're still able to tour and, you know, support themselves to some degree.
And
off of this,
their shows are sold out.
Yeah, they do really well, and I think that's fucking awesome, man. But yeah, I wouldn't say that they were underrated, and I don't think Circus Survive was underrated either. A third band, underrated, and I would say that it dawned on me, and I think that this band should have had all of the credit and all of the notoriety that Brand New had.
Ooh, okay.
Thursday.
Yes, Thursday is absolutely the correct answer. It's a great band. It's a great band.
Yeah. And they had their blip. Everybody listened to Thursday.
But it was a blip.
Yeah. But the issue with bands, I think, like Thursday, and I guess Brand New kind of did this too to some degree, and Under Oath did this as well. They were bands that were, unfortunately, they grew.
Yeah.
And they grew faster than their audience was ready for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like they start doing stuff that's like, you know, every album that Thursday put out isn't going to sound like Full Collapse or War All the Time. They're going to, because they're like musicians that are interested in growing as songwriters.
Right.
Same thing with Under Oath, as I had already mentioned.
Yeah.
Musicians interested in growing as songwriters, and you grow past your fan base because it's like you get popular doing like more accessible music that, like, you know, young kids like, and then, you know, you start putting out stuff that is maybe it's not exactly the same as that.
Yeah.
But like, and then at the same time, this happened with Under Oath so hard, where like Under Oath got popular for being basically like what you might call like the post-hardcore screamo alternative press, like poster children. And I think They're Only Chasing Safety is the best album in that genre of music. And it was like one of the first.
Okay.
Like, so many people tried to replicate that album,
Absolutely.
and nobody ever did it. That album was it.
Yeah.
And they were smart enough, whether it was intentionally or subconsciously, to realize that like we can't top this.
Yeah.
So they start getting darker and getting heavier.
Yeah.
And like just going more metal. Like they kind of like turned honestly into more of just like a metalcore band to some degree.
Sure.
Out, and instead of being like this like post-hardcore screamo thing. So the problem with that was like all of the emo kids didn't quite get it or they weren't interested. And then all of the metalcore kids were like, well, that's Under Oath. They're the emo band. You know? Because like I've had friends over the years that like we're talking about Under Oath and people are like, fuck that band. And then I'll put something on and they're like, what is this? I'm like, this is the Under Oath that you didn't hear. Yes. This is the Under Oath that you didn't hear. And they're like, oh shit. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Like I 100% understand why you wouldn't like, cause I mean like there's been bands where that's happened to me. So it's a really interesting thing when a band gets popular for one thing. It's almost like being typecast as an actor, right?
Absolutely. But it's harder to break a typecast as a band than it is as an actor.
Probably.
As an actor, you can either do a really racy role or a really serious role or like disappear for a little bit and like reset. But like My Chemical Romance was never going to be anything but emo.
Well, also too, as an actor, you're one piece of a bigger puzzle, right?
True.
I feel like the only way that like you can maybe change as a band would be like, oh, if like at the time what would have made sense, like, oh, like All That Remains or Kill Switch Engage is like, yo, Under Oath, come on tour with us. And then they go on tour and now they're opening up for
Kill Switch.
For Kill Switch and like all those people.
Underrated band, by the way.
You know,
I think it's easy to make fun of Kill Switch, but it's pretty fucking good.
You know, I never really I totally missed the Kill Switch Engage boat. There's a lot of bands in that era, bands like Kill Switch Engage, Parkway Drive,
yes,
Shadows Fall.
Awesome. Shadows Fall is good.
Even All That Remains. Like those were all bands that were really popular in that genre at the time, and I didn't really listen to them. It's not that I don't like them. I just never really listened to them.
Yeah. No.
But you can't listen to everything.
No.
It's impossible.
I try really hard to listen to everything. What are you listening to right now? Who's some of your shit that you're absolutely intoxicated with?
So the new Gojira album came out today.
Okay.
The day that we're recording this, which is April 30th, 2021, year of our Lord, right?
Year of our Lord and Savior, Gerard Way.
Yes. The new Gojira album came out.
Okay.
I've listened to it twice already today. I really like it. I think Gojira is one of the most important bands in modern metal right now. They're very, very cool, very unique band, and it's exciting to hear a band that's really, they're just a metal band. Like maybe you could find some sort of like, you know, subgenre to kind of plug them into where, you know, have like melodic death metal or, you know, symphonic black metal or power metal. Like I feel like Gojira is just a metal band. They're just a metal band.
I love that.
But they're so unique in their sound where it's just like Gojira is Gojira. And I think it's really cool. Creative guys, good band, cool music.
Okay.
So I do like that a lot. And anything else that's coming to mind right now is kind of escaping me because I'm very much thinking about
one is good. One is good. Awesome. And then finally, you know, hopefully you've enjoyed Brian's conversation for the past hour.
Yeah.
I know I have. So why don't you plug it, all your shit, tell everybody where they can come support you. Yeah. Also, this sick merch that I'm wearing, you can get. The shirt I have on underneath is glow in the dark, which is crazy. Because it's the coolest fucking thing I've seen in a long time. Because it makes me think I went to the Natural History Museum with my dad and he got me the glow-in-the-dark dinosaur t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
And that's how I feel when I wear it.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So tell everybody about all your stuff.
So the quick version would be if you're into podcasts, which you apparently are if you've sat through this for an hour, I have a podcast of my own that's honestly not too dissimilar from the conversation that I just had here with Josh. But in my show, it's a lot more focused on arts and entertainment, but not exclusively. It's called Start the Beat. You could find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts, probably whatever platform you're listening to this on.
We're big Spotify people.
If you go to the search bar and just type in Start the Beat podcast, whatever you're listening to, wherever you're listening to this, you'll find me. If you're into music, I have 3 different bands of very different variety.
Wildly different variety.
So if you're into heavy metal, I play in a band called Grey Walker. We have some stuff on Spotify right now that's a few years old, but we're actually getting ready to release something new soon. We haven't made a public announcement about that yet. I don't know when you're listening to this, but chances are
2 weeks from now.
Yeah. I would say there's nothing new at this time.
Okay. It's coming.
But yeah, eventually, if you're into heavy metal, check us out. If you're into like weirdo hip hop stuff, I have a project called Normal Creatures, which is the hoodie that Josh is wearing right now.
Gang.
Yeah, and you can find that stuff on Spotify just under Normal Creatures. It's weirdo hip hop, rap rock, but it doesn't sound like Linkin Park or Limp Bizkit or anything like that. It's it's its own thing, I
very
suppose.
unique.
Thank you. And if you're into 80s inspired dark dance tracks, kind of sometimes it's a little synthwavy but not. Sometimes it's kind of like Depeche Mode but not. Kind of like Nine Inch Nails but not. If you're just into like, dark dancey electronic music, I have a project called Some Faith that I do with my friend Indigo. And you could check that out as well if you're into that. And if all of this is just way too much information, I have a website. It's briansykeshow.com.
That's awesome.
briansykeshow.com. And there's a music tab. There's a podcast tab. There's an art tab because that's something that I do from time to time. And if you want to be creepy and find me, that's the best place to do it.
Yeah, and actually the song that we're going to end the show with today is The Pain Has a Purpose by Some Faith. It is on my liked songs list on Spotify, and it is a regular rotation for me.
That's very cool.
I love that song. I really love that song. So that's how you can find Brian Howe. Hopefully you enjoyed the first podcast without Zach. This is going to kind of be what we do from now on. Just find some of my friends to yap at about dumb shit.
Cool. Anytime that you need somebody, feel free to hit me up.
Yeah.
I'm around and I'm down to talk.
And just to give you guys, we're in Brian's studio today.
Yes.
And he's doing all the production. I have not touched a fucking thing. That's how good his shit is, okay? So, like, if you even remotely thought he was cool, you're going to get that quality that you got today on all of his other shit. And that's, like, genuinely the thing I appreciate about you the most is that you genuinely care about what you're putting out as much as I do. And I didn't think that that was possible for a long time, other than meeting you, because nobody's paying us. Nobody's, like, this is all just not for clout or anything, but just because we love doing it. And I appreciate the effort and work that you put into everything. So
thank you, man. And likewise, I appreciate you asking me to come chat today. I appreciate all the kind words.
Heck yeah.
I'm just a curious dork going through life and
struggling with the boredoms of everyday adult life.
Not struggling with boredoms. I would say struggling with interests.
There you go. Struggling with interests. We might change it.
That's very much me. Describe yourself in one sentence. Struggling with interests.
I love that.
Way too inspired.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. This has been a Great Depression. Remember, we are now in your brains.
The pain Nation.